thank you very much for having me back here. Today has been a little bit hectic, and I'll start with an apology. I have not been able to take part in the conference because I've been assessing master's students in my department. I've done 4 oral exams already today, and I've got 3 more tomorrow. So if I suddenly fall over with no brain, that's why. But anyway, I'm here to talk about how we're going to evaluate this project. And there are a few different approaches to this. Most of them involve some kind of trade-off and compromise. So with this presentation, I'm going to talk at you for a little bit, and then I'm going to ask you to take part in some feedback. That's what the Mentimeter login thing was all about. But yeah, why do we want to evaluate? Well, we want to be effective. We want to know that what we've done now is either very good or not so good, or can we do it different or better in the future? So the Preface is all about advocacy. It's about accountability, analysis of how we've used allocated resources, and so on and so forth. Now, most of you guys are no doubt familiar with these kind of things. And there's a number of different approaches and methods that we're going to be using. And that's what I'm going to ask you guys to give me some feedback about. Because we want to know, as a project, the areas we should be looking at, the areas that we should be improving, and how we go about these things. Yeah, there's a few more notes here about the different approaches. Part of the reason I'm doing this as a little more of a dynamic exercise is that we need to adjust the evaluation to the context. And context is everything. I myself work in inclusive and special education. That's my area of expertise. And there, you can talk about kids with dyslexia. But one kid with dyslexia in one classroom is completely different from another kid in a different classroom, or at home, or out on the playground. So context means everything. So it's very important that we use an approach that's suitable for our context, and we can help work that one out ourselves. The last point about rights of ownership and incentive. I caught the last two presentations, and there certainly ownership is central. Very important that we maintain control over this project ourselves, but also that we are accountable to other so-called owners, and by that I mean the people who gave us the money, because we need to keep them happy too, because we might want money in the future. So a quick sort of run through on how we do it. There are various metrics that we can use. These can be short, long-term, and of course we can use research approaches, and by that I expect most of us in this room have some idea of what research is. We can look at prestige, and this I'm talking about the broader use of this term, not the project itself, but the status, where this project has been positioned in the world, both outside of these walls and also inside our own institution. Where is it placed? What kind of prestige? We can use metrics related to career progression. We can count up the number of female professors that we have promoted, the numbers of LGBT people we have employed. If we have that kind of data, we can look at different career trajectories, of course. We can look at processes, we can look at things that have changed, we can look at networks, we can look at how they've developed. We heard from the girls' network in Narvik, those kind of things. We can look at the way policy has changed. We can look at what kind of documents we have. We can also look at health changes. Have there been any positive or negative outcomes of the various other factors involved here? Of course, economics can play a role. We can count the money, we can follow the money, we can look at the resources. Economics doesn't just have to have money involved. We can look at the amount of time that we have invested, the amount of other things, and of course the broader impact. Now that's something that anyone who's a researcher will be aware of, our impact. What have we achieved? So all of these factors, I would like us to have a think over. But first off, now this is where I'm going to jump out to Mentimeter, so I just need to check that the Zoom thing carries on showing this to the rest of the world. But while that's being worked out, these are the two tasks that I have set up for us. The first one is I'd like you to describe what gender balance means to you in 3 individual words. Okay? That's going to feed into a word cloud that will appear behind us as it develops. I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes to work on this. You can either work alone or you can find a partner sat next to you to have a little chat about these 3 points. So yeah, that's now up and running. So the way we get this to work, so you need a device that's connected to the internet. It can be your phone, it can be your laptop. So please find that. Navigate yourself to menti.com and plug in this code here, 239912. And this first part, as I said, you should have some options in front of you, 3 words. When you've completed that, you can move on to the second task, which is where you're going to vote for those 12, I think it's 12 metrics that I suggested. So, yeah, I suggest you get going. You're allowed to chat to the person next to you. It doesn't have to be a solo enterprise. I must say you're a very quiet audience. So I'm actually going to pause for a minute or two to have a quick look at what's popping up behind us here. This is a word cloud, so the more people who write the same word, the bigger the word will get. Diversity, sustainability, top ones. Fairness, opportunity, justice. Next lane, next level. And then some other interesting points as well. Intersectionality, gay, non-binary, free choice. Interesting stuff. Anyone surprised here? No, I'm not especially surprised. Thank you very much for that exercise. I can now open the next stage, which, does it work with this one? Here we go. So, perhaps you need to think a little more carefully now, because now you only have 1 vote. Okay? The first task was easier from that point of view. You had a choice, up to 3. I want you to vote for one of these things. Where should we set our focus on the evaluation? Okay, so this should now be available on the thing. You might need to hit refresh on the screen. So, fire away. Thank you very much. Yeah, interesting to see. The process and the policy change are neck and neck as being the most thing, the most interest metrics. So, yep, we can take that further. Any of you who know anything about quantitative research will know that a sample size of 11 is not exactly representative, but it gives us some idea about the directions where we're thinking of taking things with the evaluation. So, thank you very much for your time. I think we're rolling on to questions now, aren't we? Okay.
Thanks a lot, Gregor.
You're welcome. Thank you.